Hello again. Welcome back to Milkweeds and Roses. I'm Lori. Well, whether I want to accept it or not, the season is winding to an end. And that means it's time to move the fish back into their winter home, in their tank, in the garage. And not just because there's a frost coming. I mean, that's one thing. Then temperatures are starting to get kind of cold here in the pond, but also because of probably the impending frost and just the time of the year on the calendar. The crew is coming to shut off the water here in the back. So that means that the pond will continue to lose volume. It won't have the benefit of the waterfall on. It'll just keep running out of water, getting lower and lower and lower, and that tends to make my koi susceptible to all kinds of things, not to mention it'll make the pond water unhealthy, but also it will draw predators and make them easy pickings. See, the colder it gets, the slower they get. And it also means that the vegetation that's growing on top of the pond will start to die, so they won't have that cover anymore. So it's time to be proactive and start the transition. Let's get started. So step number one is to thin not all, but a lot of the vegetation. The water hyacinth, the water lettuce, that type of thing, which is grown in proliferation here over the course of the summer. I just let it go, and they seem to thrive in that. It's part of the process that helps keep the pond water clean. And not to mention it gives shelter to the fish, so that's an important thing. But what I also have in there, in addition to the vegetation that grows on the surface, is I have some plastic plants, pond plants, that provide cover for them. They were the first things to go in when I first brought them out here, and that's because it wasn't warm enough to grow pond plants yet, but they needed some shelter. Not to mention they just feel more secure that way. See, they're coming out because they see me. They're like, hey, where's dinner? Also, whenever the water temperature, I take a look first of all at the water temperature too, and the pond plants. What I do is I drain a lot of the water from the pond, which makes them easier to catch. Even though they're pretty domesticated right now, it's not like they're just going to jump in the net for me. So, I mean, hey, that would be easy, but that just isn't what it works. But I do make use of the water here. When I drain it out, I hook it up to a hose, and I water all around my garden. And it is pretty dry this time of year. I have this big maple in the back that sucks up all the water, all the nutrients. So there isn't a buried water system back there. I hand water all of this stuff, or else just wait on Mother Nature and the rain to do it for me. So yeah, they will welcome the water from this pond as I put it back into the landscape. And as snow comes or other rains come in the fall, this will fill back up again, and it doesn't have a great smell. But I will leave some of the plants in there because there is a frog who tends to show up here every spring. So I don't know if he spends the winter in here. It's not deep enough to keep the fish in here. It gets like maybe 3 feet, but in a bad winter, this pond will freeze all the way. And the water level declines. So yeah, they wouldn't make it through there if I just kept them out here in the pond. A frog, yeah, sure, he'll make it down in there, but not 8 full-grown koi will not. So I'm not going to remove all of these plants. But I will remove a lot of them so that makes it a little bit easier to catch them once we drain the water starting tomorrow, and that'll be a project. I still have a couple little plants to get in there, and let me show you the tank where they're going to go. Now my husband rigged up a filtration system. We got this big stock tank at Fleet Farm about probably 4 years ago, and you know, we like it. It works pretty well. And honestly, once koi are actually dormant, the temperature has to be around 54 degrees. They don't eat. They move very little. They just stay in the tank. And so long as you keep the surface of the water open, they'll be fine. But we do add the filtration system because, as you'll notice, that temperature in here is 75 degrees. So it's still kind of warm in here. Right now, the temperature that I took outside is about 10 degrees cooler than this. So when I move the fish tomorrow, I'm gonna wait till the afternoon when the water warms up a little bit to try to get it as close to this temperature as I can. It just keeps them safe and not so shocky, you know, if that's the case. But I do have this aquarium stuff in here. Yeah, this is just plastic. I mean, it's, you know, fake rock, whatever, but it gives them the security, a sense of security. They can hide in that and feel a little more comfortable. And there are a couple other plants that I have to hose down and then relocate them in here. The other thing this does is it helps ensure that the bacteria that is in the pond with the koi is also in here. So again, that's just part of keeping them healthy for the winter. When we first transfer them in here, we'll wait a day or so, and then we will give them a little bit of food. And yes, we do have to net this. We have to net the top because we've learned that the hard way too, that sometimes koi will jump out of the tank. And it's really just for their own safety. We have to put a net on top of that, and that's the last step that we do here. But this will be their winter home. It's ready to go. When I take pond plants out, I keep them here at the surface of the pond for a while to let them dry out, because if there are any, you know, creatures in there nestled in the roots, they get a chance to hop back into the water. This time of year, that isn't usually the case, but I never take any chances. Since this is a wildlife garden, I don't want to inadvertently destroy something that belongs in the water. So I keep that near the water surface. And after they dry down, then I put that stuff in the compost bin. None of these plants, by the way, are winter hardy in Iowa. So it's just something that we replace every year, and that's just the way it goes. Here they are, 24 hours later, just hanging out in the pond. Like I said, I put their little comfort hideaways in there. Their aquarium resin sculptures and plants and that type of thing, so they won't rot in the winter in the water. So they're just hanging out, but it gives them a sense of peace and calm to be able to hide, especially right now. There's one. Hello. There's Big Daddy. So they're doing pretty well. All 8 present and accounted for. The temperature, it's still a little warm in the garage, honestly. What does it say? So it still runs about 10 degrees warmer in here, indoors in the garage, than outdoors right now. But it was kind of a boring process, but we took some time to acclimate them in here, just kind of let them hang out a little bit. Didn't want to stress them out, and they seem to be doing well so far. So we'll keep them monitored, and there you go. There's one more big job for the winter for the garden, is to get our friends, the koi fish, in their winter home here in Zone 5B. Well, that's one job done. We've got a few more to go before the first frost comes. I'm Lori, your Milkweeds and Roses gardener. Thanks for joining me here as we tick off our list of to-dos for fall before winter sets in. I hope that you take some time, though, to enjoy the last hurrah of fall, the beauty, the last blooms of the rose. Everything looks nice and the weather's nice and cool. So take time to enjoy it. Let me know if you have questions, and I hope to see you next time here on Milkweeds and Roses. Bye.